Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Art of Reinvention podcast show. This show focuses on helping you become the best version of yourself by producing thought-provoking and life-changing content. Here's your host, Teflon John.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You're now rocking with your boy Teflon John, and on today's episode of the Art of Reinvention / talk show / podcast show, I got my man Shaquille Cook.
What's going on, brother?
Man, coming fresh out the quarantine, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I think a lot of stuff has really been going on since the last time me and you talked. We were talking about, your life, and we were talking about the Shaq pizza and everything. Right. But it seems like, man, things have taken a dramatic turn since then, man.
Yeah.
So what is your take on where we are now, and as a people? Let's go back to the coronavirus. Let's talk about that and the impact that it may have on you and your family.
Yeah, man. I mean, with coronavirus, it definitely impacted the world. People in general, just their jobs, our own health, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. But it also, I know for me in particular, it just made me really be grateful for the small things, the things I take for granted. Like toilet paper, for example. I go to the grocery store and there's a few packs of meat, but there's no toilet paper. And so it just made me appreciate the small things and made me appreciate a consistent paycheck coming in.
Yeah.
To be able to pay the bills. And then also, the way I look at coronavirus as well, it really pushed us to make sure that the things that we were already supposed to be doing, that we do those things, like cleaning up your house and using hand sanitizer and like Clorox wipes and things like that. We're supposed to be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
And so it really just enforced us to actually keep ourselves accountable. And we see now, like, the importance of taking care of your body, cleaning up after yourself. And so, yeah, man.
Yeah, now, and one thing you hear about the deaths and you hear about, everybody getting sick. But what it did for me was created an opportunity with my social media, side hustle, like trying to make that a business.
Right.
Is because churches and people couldn't actually have church. So they were looking for people to help them to establish Facebook Lives and do that. And I seen where a lot of entrepreneurs, man, were really thriving. So I think, it's always opportunity in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
And I think it's all on how you look at it. I seen your brands, stepping up and the influencers, because people really, you had their attention. They couldn't go to the movies.
Right.
Couldn't go anywhere but the grocery store and home. And I think it's still like that, man. I think that a lot of businesses are missing that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because Amazon is shutting stores down because now the demographic has begun used to online shopping.
Right.
Even people that told me, man, I'll never do the online thing, now they're doing it. And so if your business isn't already future ready or pandemic ready, I just kind of pray for them, man. I was going to get a card for my mom. I didn't know that the Hallmark store had closed down.
Wow, I didn't know that neither.
Yeah, so don't waste your gas, man. Don't waste your gas.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you on that too, man. And what it's done too, what I've seen it do is it made people and businesses think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
It made churches think outside the box, or it made businesses, churches, different organizations get with the times.
Yep.
Some people were kind of stuck in the old ways of doing things, and technology is the wave, and that's how a lot of people are getting that communication, especially the younger generation. And so what it did, it forced people who were kind of stuck in the old mindset, stuck in the old ways of doing things, to kind of get up to speed, so that way that they can be able to reach the generation that's going on right now, to be able to reach and get with the times.
Yeah, and what's funny with social distancing, man.
Yeah.
is a lot of people use that as an excuse, but I'm like, you've been social distance. I ain't seen you. You know what I'm saying? When it was no pandemic, you really didn't see or hear from different people. So I think the only careful thing was the whole social distancing thing really enforced people to really communicate.
Right.
Not just text, like really call people, check on them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because really, I think it exposed a lot, because you had people praying like, oh, I work too much, I never see my kids. What? You're working from home.
Yeah.
Kids out of school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like, take advantage of those moments and those opportunities, because we're living in a world, man, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah, and there's so many deaths and unexpected deaths at that. And so I know for myself and my wife and I, it definitely made us appreciate the time that we have together. And it definitely pushed us to say, okay, if we have the opportunity to take a vacation, travel, see the world, go ahead and do it, because, this pandemic, nobody predicted this to happen. Nobody expected this to happen. We see right now what it's doing with sports and college football and the fall sports and soccer, things like that are, questionable right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, for me, a sports junkie, March Madness was canceled. So it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
So those little small projects that people, including myself, didn't get a chance to do while things were normal. Now we got a chance to do it, clean up the house or, build that fence or, repaint the room or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, and what I find hard, man, is like a lot of those young athletes. You know what I mean? I've coached down here in Appomattox through Youth League, but I noticed even in Lynchburg, man, just talking to a couple of them, I think they've mixed their identity with what they do.
Yeah.
Because they can't, run a ball, they can't bounce a ball or whatever, or play sports. To me, it's like they've confused that with who they are.
Right.
And I think now it's causing kids to do a lot of deep soul searching, like, who are you?
And that's a good thing because I didn't actually go through that until I got to college. And, it's very easy for anybody to identify or find your life in the sport or your talent or whatever it is that you do. And so for me, when I was in college, I was kind of getting my identity mixed up. I went through identity crisis. And one of the things I was very heavy in at the time was working out and powerlifting. And then once I went through a certain amount of injuries, I was like, man, this could be taken away from me at the snap of a finger. And if I had my whole entire identity wrapped up in this, no telling, I probably want to take my life because now my identity is gone. My purpose is gone. And it goes way beyond the things that we do on a daily basis. Yep. And so, the fact that this pandemic is making kids, teenagers young, to think deeply about, what their life's purpose are, then, I think it's definitely doing a good service because it didn't happen for me until I was in my early 20s, 20, 21 years old.
Yeah, man. It's I think self-awareness, man, is really a tool that should be taught in school, and really parents should really preach that, man, because now in this world you really don't know. Like, we're going through the whole racism thing.
Right.
Really we've been going through it a lot, but I think it's now just being filmed, it's being caught.
Yeah.
And man, it's the girl told me something. And I guess we can take a turn there. But this girl told me something at work. She's a light-skinned girl. Yeah. She said that one of her kids, a dark skin, told her that they wish they were, light like she was. And I was like, man, like that's to me, that's crazy, man. Like that kids are seeing this stuff and they're digesting it mentally.
Right.
They're actually downloading it. And what's funny is some things are taught.
Right.
But some things you just learn because no one's really telling you what's going on. But I think that self-awareness, knowing who you are, having your own voice, not following the crowd of, society. Yeah. Because that's what really messes up a lot of marriages, relationships, man. It's just you comparing yourself and doing what everybody else does. Right.
And, I went through that as a kid growing up, watching television, watching music videos, the whole being dark-skinned, light-skinned thing, like, growing up and being in my adolescent years, I wanted to be light skinned because those are the guys who got all the girls and like
good hair
had the good hair. They had everything that I didn't have. Yeah. So I'm steady trying to be or wishing that I was somebody else, and then I find myself having low self-esteem, low confidence, and thinking that I'm ugly because I'm dark, and thinking I'm ugly because people say that and I'm believing that because I was already had a low self-esteem. Because I was trying to be somebody who I couldn't be. And, now I see the importance of teaching kids young, from the moment that they're born. Yep. Your life is valuable. You are beautiful just the way that you are. Regardless of what television, what, social media or anything tells you, you are beautiful. You are the only you. Even if you have a twin brother or sister, you guys don't have the same DNA pattern. Yep. It's completely different. You're the only one in the world with that DNA pattern. And so
most definitely.
We have to start now. We should have been started, but definitely pay more attention and be more intentional now about doing that for the young generation and even ourselves, because we have to renew our minds on a daily basis. Yep. That you're loved, you're valuable. Like what my wife tells me all the time, you're loved, you're valued, you're beautiful, just how you are. Yep. God made you that way for a reason. And so, embrace that.
Yeah. And, and just saying that, man, I'm more of like an analogy dude. So I remember going to a cookout, man, and people were bringing different items. You know, everybody was focused on the meat and the baked beans and who made the potato salad. But we got to the point we couldn't eat because nobody brought the plates.
Oh,
and
wow.
so if life is a party and what you are contributing to life is like bringing items to a cookout,
right?
Don't think because you're not bringing the meat or you're not asked to bring this to the life party that you're insignificant, because you could be like a cup or a plate, something that, you know, as meaning to serve a purpose.
Right.
And without you, it can't operate and it will not be the same. And I think people need to use their unique voice and say, okay, who am I? And I had to go through that, man. I was like doing motivational speaking, man, and I got like some outro. I'm trying to scream at the camera and be like Eric Thomas and these other dudes, man. And it just won't work, man. I just felt like it was Halloween, man. I was just putting on a mask. And I realized I had to be me. I'm laid back. Sometimes I'm funny, charismatic. And that's just who I am. Like, I can't make it being Eric Thomas, but I can be the best Jonathan Smith, Teflon John that I can be.
Right.
And it's an audience that God has already made or set out there for me. It's up for me to make the content, for them to connect, just like you being Shaq Cook, you know?
Yeah.
It's you being genuinely who you are.
Right.
The way you dress, the way you look. It's already an audience God has set, people that you can connect to that I can, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. You know, I had to learn, that was something that I learned definitely leaving out of high school, going into college, just finding who I am and being comfortable and being bold in that, because at one point in time I got so wrapped up in what people wanted me to be and what people thought about me that, you know, my identity became what people thought about me. Mm-hmm. My relationship with God became how people view me. That's how God views me, and that's completely, you know, that's misconstrued. And so once I learned how to be comfortable with who I am, my energy, the way that I dress, I just became bold in that, because I'm like, you know, hey, I'm just going to be who I am. And, you know, hey, if you rock with it, dope. If you don't, hey, I love you the same. You know, it's no different. Yeah. And so, and then once we're able to, like, do that, then I believe we can become great and we can excel. Yep. But, you know, I don't think that we can truly excel trying to be somebody who we're not. You know, with you being, you know, trying to be loud like Eric Thomas, you know, it's not comfortable for you because you're not being who you are. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you reach the audience being who you are and dominating your lane, you know, remaining focused in how you do it. You know, we both do the social media, the podcast and the videography, but we have our own taste and our style on how we do it. Yep. You know, like the way I look at it is like, you know, like chicken is chicken, right? But you have lemon pepper, you have, you know, Louisiana rub, you know, like you have your different tastes depending on demographic, you know, and so like, and some people like it hotter, some people like it mild, you know, but I mean, just be who you are. Yeah. And what you will attract, you will attract. You make the impact. You know?
And that's powerful too, man, because I think as influencers, man, like right now we got, like I said, we got the people's ear due to quarantine. Right. And due to the actual state of the country, you know what I'm saying? Right. Whether they be politics, personal problems, or whatever. And I think we got to be careful of what are we influencing people to do? Yeah. You know, are you influencing people to live this superficial life? You know what I'm saying? Where they're going after the material things. Right. Because being successful is different to everybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a dollar amount. Because I can tell you now, I could come in at $50 million tomorrow. It's not going to be enough to challenge me because there's more I want to do. Right. Now, that may give me, like, you know, more opportunity to accomplishment, but that's not going to make me feel fulfilled and joy. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm seeing so many influencers, man, on Instagram and Facebook where they're putting out this message to where it's like money equals success. Yeah. And that can't be more far from the truth, man, because really, I think money just enhances your current situation. Right. So if you got a messy family and everything's crazy, it's just going to enhance it. It's like me turning the volume up. Right. And if you don't already know how to handle money and you know how to handle your finances, I think things are just going to get worse. Exactly. But I think that now we live in a superficial world where it's all about brands, clothes. It's all about the look. People would rather look like they have it together. You know what I'm saying? It's like you being cut up, 8% body fat, but your liver damaged. You know what I'm saying? You got high cholesterol, but nobody can see that. You know what I mean? Right. And so what I just want to do, man, and after this whole George Floyd thing and everything, I just wanted to give people real messages. Yeah. Not really telling you what to do and being more motivational, but being more intentional.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna break down how to. Like, yo, this is how I build my credit. This is how you find your voice. You know, this is how you open a bank account. Because I think these are practical things, man, that people need to actually hear. You know, instead of just blowing up the inbox, buy my program, buy my coaching, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. You know, I look at a lot of that stuff now, and to me, I just look at it like, man, this is just a bunch of junk. Because, you know, I see a lot of social media influencers, hey, learn how to do this, and you have your Rolls Royce and your Lambo in the background, and hey, click on this link. But the way how I see it, especially during this pandemic, how's that Lambo going to help me out? Exactly. How's the Rolls Royce going to help me out? How's the $50 million in a private jet going to help me out? I can't fly out the country.
Yeah.
You know, at one point in time, you know, you really were highly suggested to not go anywhere outside your house if you don't have to. So then, like when the rubber meets the road, all that you're teaching and preaching, how is that going to help you in the middle of a pandemic? And to me, it couldn't help me at all.
Yep.
And so the way how I started looking at things over the past couple of years, especially now, what you're talking about, I'm looking at how to build great credit, how to invest my money. You know, like when the stimulus check came, my wife and I, we put a little bit aside. You know, we tithed, we gave our 10% and an offering back to the Lord, and then we invested some of the money because when the pandemic hit, you know, the stock market went down. So the things that I looked at, the things that had went down in the past 3 months, and that I project or that is projected to go back up on the rise.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm looking at, okay, what can I get for a lower bargain right now that I'm going to make money back over time? So, you know, that's like the mentality that you have to have. And so like the Lambo, the Rolls Royce, that stuff, as soon as you drive it off, it's going to lose its value.
Lose value, man.
You know, so I want to invest my time and my money that's going to gain value over time.
Yep.
The things that gain value over time, you know, love, the time that you invest with your family, you know, what you invest your finances in. You know, you can never go wrong with saving your money because as we can tell now with the pandemic, so for people who lost their jobs, you know, if you didn't practice, you know, great money management, then
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
In trouble.
And so, you know, like I look at it like what you're saying now, like how can we be even more intentional? What am I saying that's actually going to be impacting the people? Somebody said something today at work, and it made me deeply question myself. A guy was talking to a buddy of mine. He was saying, you know, while we were going through this challenging time, you just every single day checked and see how I was doing. Like, hey, are you okay? You know, hey, just let me know if you need anything. Then I asked myself, what did I do during this pandemic? What did I do during this challenging time? You know, what did I say to uplift my community? What did I do to invest in my community, the people who I work with, my own family? Because, you know, I don't want to leave out this pandemic and look back and say, I've done nothing with my time. You know, so like we have to be intentional about the time that we spend and how we spend our time. You know, time is something that we can only spend. We can never get that back.
Never get it back.
And so, you know, we as a community, we as leaders like myself and you, we have to be intentional in looking at how we spending our time, what are we pouring into our community, what are we pouring into our family, and those have to be things that we're going to see an investment, we're going to see a return over time. Like what you're doing, you know, I remember when we first met, you were talking about, you know, what I talk about, I want for somebody to hear who's like even on the verge of suicide, to hear my message and it makes them think, no, my life is valuable. You know, I'm not going to kill myself. Like, that's what I call like a real investment. There's all this other junk, you know, hey, follow me, click the link, learn how to turn $5 into $5,000. Bunch of mess.
They got it down pat.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll stop right there, then we'll reset. It is almost, so we'll stop at about 40. All right. Yeah, so talking about, the social media and the influencer, man, it kind of made me think about like a latte versus a cappuccino.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember one day, man, I'm getting upset with the lady at Starbucks. And I'm like, yo, why is this joint so like airy? Like, why is it so foamy? She was like, well, this is what you ordered. And I forget which one. I think it's the cappuccino is more foam.
I think so.
All right. So I ordered but I wanted the latte, right?
Right.
And so I said, what's the difference? She said, it's just one has more foam. She said it looks good. I'm like, no, I want the substance. You
Right,
know?
right.
And that's what made me kind of think about people sometimes is we rather have the fluff and the substance. And it's like, imagine you meet this person that's like the quote unquote guru or the quote unquote, you know what I'm saying, ultimate coach, and they ain't got their stuff together.
Right.
Your wife don't even respect you. You find out they ain't spending time with their kids. You know, to me, that's the world that we live in. People would rather look like they got it than actually have it, man.
Yeah. You know, the look, I mean, we can easily get caught up in the look. Something that I learned just being a married man is things change over time, even the look. You know what I'm saying? Man. And, you know, like, for example, man, like when my wife and I, when we first met, man, you know, I was definitely 20 pounds less than what I am now. You know, so like imagine if she was just caught up in the look. Imagine if she was just caught up in the look, and then, you know, 2 years later, that look didn't change.
Yeah.
Look didn't do anything for you. Mm-hmm. But it's about what's on the inside.
Yeah, man.
You know, like what's filled on the inside, because, you know, things change over time. You know, we face different life situations, and our personalities change. Like, you know, for example, for my wife and I, like, you know, I lost my father, and then she lost her grandfather, and, you know, our nephew was killed last year. So, you know, we changed. And we grew over time.
Yeah, man.
But, you know, we're not the same people that we were then. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, how is that foam, that fluff going to help now?
Exactly.
It can't do anything. Yeah. It's, you know, if you look at the foam, you play around with it, before you know it, you can play around with it and it's all gone.
All gone, man. So, but you paid full price.
Right. You paid full price for something that's pretty much, what, 65 to 70% foam.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's 70% foam, it's 30% actual substance. So you got all this fluff and look good, but when it's all said and done, you only have 30% of something that's actually going to give you what you're really looking for.
And the substance will save you, man. That's like I see people. I remember getting married, man. I was just watching people from, and I'm like, and I'm, you know, silently comparing my marriage to what I thought was a good marriage. And then when I found out, whoa, like they got some issues.
Yeah.
But they look, they know how to smile and go out together, but man, they not even sleeping in the same bed.
Right.
You know, but that substance, like you said, when my wife's mom died, like it really exposes like times of crisis.
It does.
You got substance of fluff, man, and the substances will really hold you together.
Right. You know, and the deep root, I think the core of the substance should be love. Yeah. You know, and all that we do, it's like, you know, if we do everything in love, well, I look at it as where there's love, there's no fear. So, you know, fear and love cannot operate in the same space. Love is going to drive fear out. Love is going to drive hate out. Like, you know, so when it's all said and done, it's everything that we do, we have to do in love. You know, the messages that we put out. It may be hard to hear because it's getting to the core. Mm-hmm. You know, like there are some things that are hard for me to hear, but it gets to the core, and that's what helps bring real change. But I can accept it when I know that the person is telling me out of love versus spite versus just foam. Hey, I look good. Get a 6-pack like me. You gained 30 pounds since you've been married, you know. So, like, look like me. Instead of, hey, listen, you want to be able to better take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. You want to be a better husband. You want to have more energy to spend time with your wife, with your family. Hey, eat better, work out. Like, this will bring, not only will it bring a different look, it'll bring a different feel. You can enjoy, you know, the things of your daily life a lot more. I accept that more than just, hey, man, come look like me, be fluffy and puffy. Mm-hmm. So it's fluffy.
And it's crazy because, when, you know, being a personal trainer, man, like I've trained several people, and what I notice is the process is going to be hard.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying? And what happens is you see people that the purpose will either help you withstand yourself during that process or you tap out.
Right, exactly.
So some people like, man, I just want to get a 6-pack. I just want to do this. All right. You know what you signed up for? And they'll get halfway through it, man, and not realize, like, it's a lot of sacrifice.
Right.
It's a lot of dedication. But the people whose purpose is like, yo, I want to live. I want to be able to see my kids, have kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's where you see them show up every day. They'll sweat, sore, they'll work through the injuries. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just how life is, man. Marriage, relationships, whatever that purpose is, man, your motive, if it's pure, you'll go through that process. Because you'll see people try to do what we do. They buy equipment, they get the camera, and they get those bad comments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or you know, people not watching their videos and they tap out. It's like every week they're doing something different.
Right. Or they're not having enough subscribers or people viewing. And, you know, we all go through that, you know, for those of us who are, you know, doing it with the pure intentions.
Yeah.
No, even it's easy for us to get caught up in, man, I had 2,000 views last week. Now I got like 6. But what does it for me, I say this, is that one person that comments and says, hey, because I watched this episode, I want to start my nonprofit. You know, that's where, you know, my priorities lay. And that's the reason why I started it from the very beginning. You know, wanted to invest in people, wanted to encourage people, wanted to get people to take the next steps to, you know, find their life's calling or find their purpose or, you know, start their business or go back to school, get back into coaching to do something that's going to reproduce greatness over time.
Yep.
And so we have to have the right intentions, then also keep that our priority.
Yeah,
not lose sight of that over time. The more that your shows grow, you're gonna have even more viewers. It's gonna get up to like 2 to 5 million viewers, start getting paid, and then, you know, like we could easily just shift our attention to that and fail to remember why we started in the first place.
Yeah. Because the reason why you started is going to help you, man. I remember a pastor told me, man, that, you know, she kind of prophesied everything was going to work out and all this. She was like, yo, never let anybody pervert your vision.
Yep.
And I've had people call when I was featured on the news and with all these ideas, and they wanted me to do this and do that. And it was just awkward, man, because it was like taking a baby that I'm trying to raise to do one thing, but you wanted to do something different.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's really not what my brand is about.
Right.
And to me, if I can go to sleep at night knowing, okay, this interview that I'm doing with Shaq, it'll touch somebody. Whoever this was meant, whenever God gave me the idea to give you the call, he already had it already set up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me to stray away from that, you know what I'm saying, the art of reinvention, there's an art to it. It's an art of what we do. You know, sitting behind the camera, sitting in front of the board to help reinvent somebody. And all I want to do is plant a seed, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So all I'm doing is planting the seed. And I heard Will Smith say it is not for the gardener to change the seed that was planted.
Right.
It's just for the other people, the gardener, to create the environment to make it conducive for that seed to actually grow. And so for somebody to take your seed that you're trying to plant in the world and change it, to me, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, you know, it's backwards, and that's one of the things that made me question people's intentions. And then it's another thing that, you know, I learned over time is having the right people in my circle. Because, you know, say for example, if you would have listened to those people, then what you were taking to create would have been something that's completely not you, and you wouldn't be fulfilling what it is that you were set out to accomplish, because you're caught up in what somebody else wants to see out of you.
Yep.
And then you could have went through what I went through, identity crisis. Focus on what others want me to do instead of just doing what you're passionate for, doing what you're set out and what you're intended to do. And we all face that. You know, even for those who aren't in the media field and doing what we're doing as podcasters and what we do with social media. But, you know, people face it in sports. You know, people face it, you know, at a desk job, or even if you're working for like a telemarketing company, whatever the case may be. Everybody's going to have to face that.
Yeah, man.
But, you know, you have to know exactly what you set out to accomplish and then filter what everybody else is telling you based on what your mission and what your mission statement is. And if it's not helping push you towards your mission, then you have to put it in the clutter file.
Yep.
It's like we get emails. Sometimes our emails automatically classify what's coming in. For me, with my email address, if it's a promotional item, it'll put it in a promotional column or promotional section. If it's junk mail, there's a section that says junk mail.
Yep.
Because it's not something that, you know, that's going to be beneficial to me. It's just junk. So it separates it for me. And we all get to a point at some point in time in life where we have enough discernment to just separate what's junk and what's real for us and what's going to help us do what it is that we're set out and what our mission is.
And that's real, man, because, you know, you see a lot of times where, like we talked about earlier, whether it be, you know, the tone of our skin or
Right.
whatever. So with me, You know what I'm saying? I had a speech impediment, man. Like when I used to stutter like way worse than I did now.
Yeah.
And so like the video editing.
You don't stutter to me at all.
Let me tell you, man. Like you go back and watch some videos, man, and I would be like just focused on it so much to where the message wouldn't even get out there because I'm like delete, and then I would try to edit it. And so I remember I told my wife, I said, "No, I'm gonna leave it in there because it's an audience for that. It's somebody that's stuttering now,
right? That's
not even hitting that button because they like, man, I'm gonna mess up on some words.
Yeah.
So if I stutter doing a video or a piece of audio or whatever, I'm gonna leave it in there because it's gonna motivate and inspire that person.
Right.
Now, I work towards it. Like I said, I remember being in speech classes since I was in like 7th grade.
Right.
I remember like. The teacher would come and get me at the door. They're like, where you going? I'm going to play Connect 4. And I remember it was a substitute, man, that came to get me one time. Everybody think I'm going to play board games. She was like, I'm here to get Jonathan Smith for speech. And everybody turned. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? It was just like one of those moments where I'm like, oh, this is who I am. This is me. And as a 36-year-old male, I'm just now starting to realize certain things like, yo, this is you.
Yeah.
This is me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If I take a picture and one of my eyelids are, almost closed, this is me.
Yeah.
This is who I am. And I think that until we get to that point, man, like we get past all the superficial stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And there, like you said, there are other people who may have like issues with speech and they need to hear your story because I can't tell that you had any issues with speech as far as I'm concerned. Like you pronounce everything and like complete every sentence just about perfect. Yeah. If you ask me, but somebody that may not be taking the next steps because they have issues with their speech or issues pronouncing words or even finishing a sentence need to watch this episode because you dealt with that since you were in like 7th grade. And look at you now. Phenomenal.
Appreciate it, man.
Phenomenal. Like I said, I couldn't even tell.
And that was how I got my first speaking gig, man. It was me speaking. I was asked to speak about fitness, right? This girl, Victoria Watts, a real good friend of mine, she was doing this Let's Talk Fashion thing. Yeah. Now it's big. Let's Talk Fashion Virginia, real big, whatever, right? So I was one of the speakers. She had somebody speaking on, like, confidence. Regina Bond, she's killing it on social media. Yeah. She had another girl, naturally fashionable. I forgot her name, but she's big on Instagram. And another girl, Cassie Carter, killing it. She doing makeup. I'm the only dude that's never spoken in front of anybody. So the first thing I'm thinking, I'm going to just make up something. I'm going to lie to her until I'm busy because I'm thinking if I get up there and start stuttering or something, man, this ain't going to be good. And I'm not the dude that's did it. I'm like, they do this. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm just stepping up. And so before I could outthink myself out the opportunity, I told her yes. And then that forced me to get into preparation. Right. Because what I learned is more the fear in your mind. You know what I'm saying? Right. So if I think I'm going to mess up on a word or whatever, usually that's what happens. Right. You see what I'm saying? Usually that's what happens. And then I learned, okay, like when I was doing videos, I used to write like a script. Mm-hmm. And because I had the joint written out, I'm trying to do it word for word, it would tear me up. So the bullet points just allowed me to flow naturally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it taught me a lot about that whole thing is, you know what I'm saying? Like you can think yourself out of an opportunity because you never know what God's going to give you or who's going to be there. Right. That's to hear that. And I remember doing it. It's like, man, you've been speaking for a while? I'm like, nah. I was like terrified, man. But what I learned is I got up there and I was being myself. Everybody was like using big words and it was killing it. So I was so nervous, man. I had to make people laugh. And that's just what I was doing, just being me. And they loved it, man. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like you start messing up when you try to be somebody else. So when you try to do something that just isn't you, like what you said, like the big words. If I go up and I try to say some big words, I'm going to mess it up. It's like there's no need for me to even do that. Yeah, just like find what works for me and just capitalize and build off of that. Yeah, man. And like that's how you become great by sticking with a style that works for you. Like, for example, if we're talking about sports, can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal being a point guard? Like, that'd be terrible, man. That'd be the worst thing. He's already, like, shout out to my man Shaq, but he's already like tripping off of the stage, Yeah, he had like 6 charges in the first quarter. Yeah, can barely get the ball down the court, but put him at center where he's good at. Beast.
beast mode, breaking backboards. Like, you know, and just like Shaq, we can break barriers when we're in our position.
Yeah.
And we just continue to build and thrive off of that. That's when we start breaking barriers. That's when, you know, doors start to open. I have no business running anybody's daycare at all. So, you know, like they'll fire me in the first hour.
Yeah, man.
Because that's not my position.
Yep.
But if you put me on a microphone or you put me in front of people to motivate and inspire people, I can thrive because that's my position. And we have to be comfortable with what we're good at and say, hey, listen, look, and it's okay to say no to things that just ain't us.
Yep.
You know?
And I think saying yes sometimes is saying no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think you could be stereotyped into like going in a certain lane. Because I already tell you, like if we did content that was more like VH1, like gossip, what is the one, TMZ style?
Right.
We just talking about what everybody doing, thousands of views, thousands of likes. You know, we putting on the fights or what do they call it? The tea, the gossip.
Yeah, like spilling the tea.
Man, that'd be social media would be like through the roof.
Right.
But because we take the hard route and we want to actually change lives and impact people.
Yeah.
And not feed into that whole fire, like pouring gasoline on the fire, then we choose to go this difficult route where we have to be ourselves to actually show somebody, okay, this is what's different.
Right. You know, that reminds me of J. Cole's song, I think it's called 1985 or something like that. And he's talking about, I don't know what rap he was referring to, but he was saying, like, you know, you're hot right now because you're following trends. But eventually, once your trend dies down, you die down. Nobody's going to listen to you no more. Nobody's going to be booking you for your shows. And J. Cole was like, you know, hey, I'm going to be around forever because my skills are tip top. Like, you know, I'm talking truth, and the truth will last forever.
Forever, man.
And so, you know, I had to learn that myself because I see videos of guys doing crazy things at Walmart and, you know, I mean, some of it is funny, I can't lie. Some of like, but majority of it just like crazy. But it gets 300,000 views and it gets, you know, 500 shares, and it's like, man, you know, like I'm speaking some truth here, and it's like I can barely get 10.
Yeah.
But you know, we have to stick with that because I look at it as what is going to last forever. What is going to last 10 years from now? You know, like the things that are popular or trendy, once the trend dies down, it dies down with it.
Yep.
You know, my pastor from back home, he told me, he said a long time ago, he said, always have conservative dress, like suit and tie. He said that would never go out of style. And it's true. You know, for as long as I can even think about, a suit and tie has always been in style. But, you know, baggy jeans were in style in the 90s. Now, you know, it's a little bit more fit. At one point in time, it was skinny. Those things, trends, they here today, gone tomorrow.
Yep.
But, you know, conservative dress is here forever. So, you know, we have to find our lanes. We found our lanes, and I encourage anybody who's watching to find your lane that's going to last you a lifetime, that even when you pass away, your message will never die. It's still here forever.
All right, so we'll stop on that note. So let's take a turn. Let's take a little, I wouldn't say left. Let's go right. Let's go right. All right.
Yeah.
So in the midst of the pandemic, man, in the midst of this whole time, you know, everybody's doing good, man. People are getting antsy. People are ready. You know, they're slowly opening up the country. And all of a sudden, George Floyd happens.
Right.
Man. Where were you and what went through your mind when you got wind of it versus when you actually seen the video, if you saw the video?
Yes. So when I heard about it, you know, I don't think it really did much justice for me until I actually saw it. You know, because, I mean, you hear about police officers killing unarmed black men all the time. When I actually saw the video, and I'm like, yo, like, come on, you know? And then when he actually died, I was like, wow. So, you know, I was very appalled because I'm like, man, you know, that was very unnecessary. And this one, unfortunately, out of all of the incidents similar to that, This one was a straw that, like, to me, officially broke the camel's back. Because now you're seeing statues being taken down. You see the NFL is looking into renaming, the Washington Redskins and, like, actually being serious about it now. You see more businesses taking a stand for diversity. You see Black Lives Matter have the attention of the U.S. right now. You even see people in different countries, supporting, saying that, hey, African Americans, their lives matter, and it's always sad that it takes something bad to happen to draw somebody's attention. But now it's like, okay, we have the floor. Like, not only do we have the floor, but we have your ear. We have everybody's ear. We have all the attention is on us, the individuals who are influencers in our community. Now it's okay, what are we going to do? Yeah. This is going to last forever. So when we pass away, our kids, they'll be able to walk in certain freedoms, or they have opportunities that we didn't have. And the truth is that there were people before us who did that for us. Mm-hmm. Like Martin Luther King never experienced segregation, but he fought for it. I mean desegregation, my apologies. He never experienced desegregation, but he fought for desegregation. And even, people who we don't know who fought for civil rights, who never got the chance to experience it, but we are living in the freedom based off of somebody else's sacrifice. Yep. So, now what are we going to sacrifice in the wake of all of this so that we ourselves, our kids and their kids, can have a better future and greater opportunities?
Yeah, man. It's something, man, like, when you break it down like that, because we are, like I said, the reason that me and you could be here, drive when we want to, leave when we want to, is because, other African Americans fought for it, risked their lives and risked their freedoms. And I remember seeing the video, because I remember hearing about it. And like you said, you hear about it so much. I thought they were talking about, like, the Eric Garner thing. 'Cause I heard somebody say, my man couldn't breathe. So I remember laying in bed watching the video, and I didn't know he died until, like, I watched the video. So no one told me he died. They just said, yo, you got to watch this,
Right.
So I just remember, man, seeing, like, darn, this is broad daylight. Facebook Live. Yeah. My man's got his hands in his pocket and his chest out, and he just had this look about him. And I remember, watching the interview, it's like, yeah, by him having his hand in his pocket, he can force more pressure down on his neck. And I'm thinking that for you to do that in broad daylight, Facebook Live in front of people, you had to, it's somewhere in your mind, you was like, ain't nothing gonna happen to me.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
feeling invincible.
Yeah, and so I think, like you said, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is that drop of water, man, that ran the whole cup over. And I watched people protest. Like my cousin was arrested twice, protesting. I watched people doing this, and I'm like, once again, there's opportunity in the midst of chaos.
Right.
But what I don't want to do is get lost in the sauce where it's like we're just making noise.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is we need leaders to lead this movement to make sure that we go out, we register to vote.
Right.
Because we need to know, like, there's no need, man, like, in knowing all the characters on Love and Hip Hop and these crazy shows. But you can't tell me 3 of the councilmen in your city or your county or whatever, or who the district attorney is or who the mayor is. So we got to educate ourselves on things that really matter and really shift our priorities, because right now we have the power to vote and we have the actual number. Right. When you're looking at not only African Americans that's coming out, but the different races that are coming out to actually support this movement, this is a great opportunity to use those voting polls, you know what I'm saying, to really structure change. Like, I think I was listening to Killer Mike, and he was saying that we need to come up with a 10-point agenda or whatever, and you take that to your local officials. This is what you need to do to get our vote. Right. And if you can't do it, then you won't get our vote. That's real, man. But I think the problem is, Shaquille, is, we're not making that a priority. Yeah. To get involved on a local level. So how do you think we could get involved or turn this just built up energy, which is good energy,
right,
into that kinetic energy, that good moving energy, man, in the right path to get people, okay, now you're protesting, young man, but this is how you really make impact. Like, how do we get them involved in local politics?
Yeah, so, it's quite a few ways how to go about doing that. The first thing I say is when it comes to voting, especially for city council, it should always go back to what are they trying to do? The policies, what are they trying to initiate? Oftentimes we vote for people because maybe we know them or, we like how they look or whatever the case may be. But I'll look at it now every time, but like, especially now, what are you trying to do? What are you going to do to uplift and make the community better? How are you going to address these issues? What if this happened in our backyard? What would you do? What would you say? And, I learned a lot just by seeing, seeing how people operate who are running for city council. We just had an election here. Yeah. And I'll say this, what ended up happening, it's like for those individuals, I'm not saying anybody in particular, but I'll just say example, when you have something like this that happened with George Floyd and you have a re-election coming up, some people can be intentional about saying something just to get elected or just to get reelected.
Yep.
And I'm not saying anybody did that, but just saying in general, those things can happen.
And that's how it comes off.
Right, and that's how it can come off. But the rubber hits the road is like when you do have the seat, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to say? So we need to start off first by paying attention to the people who we're voting for. What policies are they trying to initiate? What are they trying to do? Even before something bad happens, it doesn't take something bad to happen for you to want to do something to uplift your community. So what are they trying to do? That's the first thing that we have to do. Then we look at what can we do? So, for example, I'm not a protester, so you're not going to see me out protesting at all. That's just not my lane. However, I will use a platform like this to spread love, to spread an encouraging message, to spread unity. And so we have to find what lane works best for us, and then we have to self-evaluate and think, what is it? What's the problem? What can we do in our position? And then we have to execute that. And even if you're not starting a whole revolution or anything like that, I'm not saying go out and you have to be the one to, start a building fund for a brand new community center. That'd be phenomenal. But, not everybody's going to do that.
Yep.
But you do have influence wherever you are. So how are we going to use our influence in the lane that we're in? And so we have to look at the policies that the individuals in city council, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to initiate. We have to look and see, okay, my skill set and what I'm good at, with the problem that's going on, what can I do about it? And I need to do just that. So for me, for example, like I said, I'm not a protester, so you won't see a video of me out at a protest. But what I did, I took my platform, Keeping Real with Shaquille, and I discussed what we need to do and things that we can do. And then also 3, where there's hurt, be willing to mend broken relationships, start afresh, be willing to forgive, be willing to show love. So, we had some situations that happened in our backyard in Lynchburg, and I knew some people that were affected by it on both sides. And so for individuals that I knew, I reached out to them. I gave them my thoughts on what could be good as far as moving forward, how to bring unity, how to bring healing to the community. And I listened to what they had to say. They listened to what I had to say. And then, I played a small role in trying to connect those individuals with people that could hear their voice, that could help them in their position to restore brokenness or restore things that weren't right. And that was just a role that I had because I'm good with building relationships. So that's a role that I played, but I didn't go out and, I wasn't on a street corner because that's just not me.
Yeah.
So find what you're good at and use what you're good at to invest and bring the change that you want to see in the community. That's what you have to do.
And I think it starts with relationships and conversations because I actually did an interview which should be coming out next week with the police chief, Ryan Zuderman. And just talking to different people, and you're going to see more of that. Me talking to people that's on the other side to see.
Right.
Because that's the only way that we can actually make it happen. And I've heard several comments or, seen things where people are saying this about me, but this is how the police aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be the military to come in and martial law take effect, the police aren't going anywhere, in my opinion. And so unless we come up with, some way to, control or restructure the way they police, we got to start having conversations with those guys.
Right, yeah.
And see, okay, what can you do to change your policing styles or, get rid of these tactics, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so even on like a job setting, like having it, like I've been having conversations with, a lot of Caucasian people that I realize that the majority of them don't understand what it's like for us.
Yeah.
Some of them get it, some of them don't. And I think when there's the misunderstanding, there's the disconnect because we assume that they should already know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But then you look at, I look at their age, I look at where they live. I'm like, well, normally when you look at violence and everything, it's kind of proximal.
Yeah.
So if you're living in a Caucasian neighborhood, if somebody's did violence, you normally it's going to be someone that's Caucasian. Black neighborhood, black on black crime or whatever.
Right.
But they're not exposed to us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not outside of work and school. They see one side. So when you look at what the media pushes,
yeah,
you see what I'm saying? What we push as a society, the different types of movies and music, that's what they see glorified.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think when they're actually trying to listen to us talk and we can articulate how we feel, now the understanding piece comes in, and now there's a light being shined on it.
Yeah.
And now that's why I think you're seeing these people out protesting with us, because after seeing that, the whole George Floyd thing, I think that's from start to finish, this is on camera, what I'm saying? And I've heard stories about it, but man, I actually watched it for myself. And now I think that instead of people being more divided, we got to come together, but it starts with conversation.
Yeah. Shout out to Mama Crockett's. They did something like a month ago where they just served free donuts and coffee, and it was just open dialogue for people from different walks of life, different cultures, ethnicities, people who didn't look like each other. And the common goal was for everybody to walk away with a better understanding and to see how can I help. And so, I'll talk with Hispanics, I'll talk to Caucasians, I'll talk to African Americans. We all sat in a circle and we discussed what was going on. And you had people who didn't look like me that said, hey, no, I don't understand what it's like to be an African American. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what it's like to be in your shoes. But how can I help? Even though I don't know how it feels, but I want to do something.
Yeah.
And I said, it is okay to not know how it feels because I don't know how it feels to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know how it feels to be a Caucasian in America. I don't know how it feels to be Jewish.
Exactly.
I don't know how that feels from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first thing is establishing what we do and do not understand.
Yeah.
Then we say, okay, well, even though you don't understand, whatever position you're in, you can play a role in your position to make sure that diversity is exemplified. You can play a role in your position to make sure that unity is exemplified and glorified. So that when people see you, they see unity. When people see you, they see love. When people see you, they don't see somebody that's judgmental. They see somebody that doesn't judge them, that accepts them for who they are, and only pushes them to be better regardless of where they're from, regardless of what they look like. And then from there, we can continue to walk together. And even though we are unified and one because of the mission that we have, we still understand that we're different at the very same time. Mm-hmm. And so I understand when somebody tells me, hey, I don't know what it feels like. And like I said, I say back, I don't know what it feels like to be in your shoes neither.
Yep.
I don't know what it feels like to be a Caucasian cop and I'm walking down, I'm doing my job or whatever, but in the back of my mind, somebody feels as if I may, harass somebody that's African American today. And I may not be racist at all, but that's just a reality for me.
Yeah.
The same thing for the cop doesn't know what it's like to be an African American that may get a little nervous when you see a cop pull up behind you and the things that run through your mind because of the reality, the things not only that we see on television or in movies, but the things that actually really do happen. And so I took the opportunity when I saw a state trooper at the gas station, Caucasian state trooper. I just pulled up beside him and said, "Hey, listen, first off, I commend you for your job. I understand that right now we're going through a challenging time in our nation. But, I believe the people in all positions that do the right thing should be commended for it, should be praised for it. Because you have people in all different positions, whether, that person is a president of a business or a chief operating officer or even just a district manager or just a supervisor. You have people who abuse their power all the time. Mm-hmm. And it may not have the same notoriety or the same attention as a police officer, but you have individuals who abuse their power and create issues that affect people for a lifetime, and it affects their kids. And so what I told him, I said, we have to continue to walk together. I understand that not every cop is a bad cop. Not every African-American man walking down the street is selling drugs. Mm-hmm. Not every Caucasian man with a suit and tie on is guilty of inside trading. No, these are stereotypes, but but not everybody is guilty of that stereotype. And so we have to understand that and walk together. And that's what I told him, and he appreciated that. And I know that, I can tell by his reaction that he needed to hear that. Yeah. Because, there's no telling what somebody else may be thinking when they see him in the store or anything like that. So
I would say it's a difficult time for the good cops, man.
It is.
And I in my interview with the police chief, we talked, and he had brought up something I hadn't even thought about. He said, "Have you thought about how the black cops feel?" Yeah, because they're being pulled in both directions.
Yeah.
And he was like, and sometimes it can get pretty ugly for them because in the community, they're viewed this way. Then by their, police staff, they're viewed like which side are you going to be on?
Right.
And to me, I think we should make people pick sides. Like going back to what you said, if protest is not your lane, don't view because I'm not protesting that I don't care.
Right.
I may just be going about it a different route. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my fear with that is like when the NFL starts, when different things go back to normal, you're going to see people using this kneeling thing as a mode of division. You're going to see people using the protesting thing as a mode of division because it's like, because I'm not being active, like being an activist in your way, doesn't mean I don't care about the movement and what's going on.
Yeah, somebody told me to encourage somebody to use words if necessary. And so, just because you're not doing it in the form or fashion somebody else is doing it does not mean that you're not using your voice. The one ultimate way of using your voice, apart from speaking, going to the voting polls. People may not know exactly who you voted for, but you exercise your voice. Yep. By filling in a blank to put somebody in office is going to bring a significant change to your community or to your nation. And so, even myself, even when Colin Kaepernick started the kneeling, I understood without a shadow of a doubt why. That's not something that I would do personally. Mm-hmm. I would just do things, me personally, I would do things different because that's just not me. Yeah. And I had to learn to be comfortable with it. People, where division tends to happen, like you mentioned, people think that, okay, well, if you don't do it this way, you're a sellout. You're Uncle Tom, you're a cop out, and then that right there creates division. And people can tend to get so upset. And I understand that these things make us emotional. I get that. It upset me to see what happened to George Floyd. But people, if they're not careful, and if we're not careful, if I'm not careful, can start being upset at other people because they're not using their voice how I use mine, or I'm not using my voice how they use theirs, and then there's a division already in between us where we're trying to create unity. Instead of saying, hey, listen, brother, I may not go out there with you, but I support you. Let me see, how can I support you? Can I buy you a 24-pack of water for you and the other people who are going to be out there protesting? Even doing it in the NFL, you had players that were taking a knee. Then you just had some that came and put their hand on their shoulder pad. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't take a knee, but to me that signifies, hey, brother, I understand. I'm in the fight with you. I may not be using my position to do exactly what you're doing, but just know I'm with you and I'm standing for the same cause. I'm standing, you kneeling, but we're standing for the same thing. Yep. And so as a community, and especially as community leaders and influencers like you and myself, we have to take our voice and our position and continue to bring unity, continue to bring support. And so, like I said, it's just like going back to basketball. Like Shaquille O'Neal has no reason in the world to be playing point guard. He should stay in the center, and that's it. Don't even take a jump shot. Just get in your role. And when people find their roles, then the team could better function and operate, and we could achieve the goal. Yep. But we will look very crazy fighting each other on the same team. Mm-hmm. When all we have to do is say, go to the drawing board, see where we're good at. How can I support you? So, like I said, for the protesters, hey, listen, I may not be out there protesting with you, but here, brother, hey, I'm going to cash up your money so you can go get some water because I know you're going to get hot. You know, or you can come on my platform and talk about what you guys did at the protest. So that way we are still unified and we're exercising what we're good at to become better, and to also bring the change that we're all fighting for in our community and in our nation.
All right, so what can our community do? Like, what can the black community do? Like, outside of, you know, dealing with other races and outside of leaning on the politicians and waiting on, you know, a different system to help us. Like, what can we do as individuals and as the black community?
We have to educate ourselves, number one. You know, financial literacy. We have to educate ourselves on, you know, we have to see our own value and uplift each other. Without a doubt, you know, we can't wait for somebody else to, you know, take the initiative to uplift us. We have to say, listen, man, you know, we have to support one another. You know, we have to support each other's businesses. We have to support each other's initiatives. Like, for example, my wife and I, we have a scholarship that we give out every year. You know, even if you don't create a scholarship or an organization, you know, sow time, sow seed, sow money into something that's going to help benefit people for a generation. You know, educate yourself on laws and policies and see what it is that you want to change or what it is that you can do. Like I said, get in where you can fit in and connect with people who can help enhance the vision and get things done. You know, we can do a lot. We can definitely do a lot. You know, take those properties that are run down and you turn it into something new. You turn it and you repurpose, you refurbish it. You know, but you first have to learn how to do it, which goes back to educating yourself. You know, apart from educating ourselves, it's like the blind leading the blind. Nobody knows which direction or what to do. So we have to educate ourselves, find, you know, the passion, get in where we can fit in, and be intentional about giving back to the community, whether it's through scholarships, whether it's, you know, building a community center, or, you know, supporting each other's businesses. You know, you don't have to go out and wear designer all the time. You know, I could wear a Teflon John shirt, help put money in your pocket, and then that helps you, you know, continue to build your platform so that you can get more people will be listening to you, and it be reaching even more people. And all of that could just come from just me supporting you, buying your T-shirt, and it could be changing millions of lives just by spending $35 on your T-shirt. So, you know, we have to see it that way. We have to have that perspective, and we have to execute, brother.
Okay, so what do you think? Because I think all that is true. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to learn. We have to do financial literacy, you know, and in order to support our families, support our businesses. But I also think, man, that we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And that just starts at, you know, in your own home.
Yeah.
You know, like what other place could you control better than your own home? You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you're being there for your kids, and make sure that, you know, that you're being there for your wife and vice versa, and that you're teaching your kids, because I think it's easier to, you know, I think it's a harder battle to go after the politicians.
Yeah.
First, when the easiest thing that you can really control is your household. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do think, we need to learn who our local officials are, and we need to attack it that route also, man, because I think it's a difficult fight it's a difficult fight when you don't know who your enemy is.
Right.
We don't know who the opposition is, and right now the opposition is ignorance because we don't have any education.
Right. When you educate yourself, you find out who the opposition is.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And going back to what you said, holding ourselves accountable, we have to have the right people in our circle. We have to have, like, for example, like I have friends that, hold me accountable to where I'm investing my monies. My wife holds me accountable to, us saving. We hold each other accountable to paying our bills, taking care of responsibilities, making sure that, we manage our time properly. So we have to have the right people in our circle to help us to be accountable so that we can continue to elevate. It doesn't make sense for us to have a mission and to be driving towards a mission, but the people who are in our inner circle are the ones pulling us back. Their mentality is wrong. You don't want to do what's right and probably manage your money or invest it. You want to constantly buy the latest trends that's coming out and then end up being broke and not paying your bills. So it's like if you are destined to try to go somewhere and be somewhere, if you're destined to be a billionaire, you have to think like one and surround yourself with people who have that same thought process.
Yeah.
If I want to be a phenomenal entrepreneur, not only do I have to study great entrepreneurs, but I have to be around people who are either trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, and in addition to that, be around people who already done or is doing what I want to do, so they can show me the ropes, so they can give me information from personal experience on how to be successful in the path that I'm trying to go. So accountability is very important because there are going to be days where we don't feel like doing anything. But having that accountability partner and having the right people on in our inner circle will help us continue to go when we don't feel like it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. And the reason that I say accountability, because right now I think we have not only the accountability to our homes and our families,
right,
but to ourselves as a community.
Absolutely.
Because right now we're at war with too many other things. We got police brutality, we got racism, but we also at war with ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's been like that from, through generations.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one thing that we need to address, that we're our brothers. Now, will it be violence, black on black crime? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that crime is proximal. You're normally, a victim of crime with people that you live around.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an issue that has to be addressed. It's like the elephant in the room. So while we're doing this Black Lives Matter, while we're talking about, the average black life, we need to look at not only who's taking the life, but we need to look at the value, who's valuing that life.
Right. And we also have to look at what are we saying and doing to prevent those things from happening. Because, we have police brutality, we have black on black crimes, and, these things have been happening for years, and we understand that. But we all have a responsibility to ourselves, our family, and our communities. And so we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing to make sure that the people that I'm keeping myself accountable, then also I'm keeping the people accountable in my inner circle, because the people in my inner circle and everybody else makes up the community. And so what am I saying to the young kids? What am I saying to the teenagers? What am I saying to the adults? Like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Because life and death comes out of the tongue. So am I speaking life to people? That's what we have to ask ourselves, and that's what we have to first start with accountability. What are we putting into the community? Because if I go, say, for example, there's an altercation happening, two people are arguing, and somebody has a gun, and I decide to go over there, am I going to speak life into the situation to diffuse the situation and to help people see in that moment, hey, listen, both of your lives have value. There's no need to even go down that route. Let's diffuse it. Let's become better. Let's, help each other and not result to violence. But if I go over there and instigate it, then that's adding more fuel to the fire. Exactly. And then somebody's going to end up getting hurt. Then somebody may end up losing their life. Then you have another whole page of issues going to happen. Somebody's losing a father or a mother. Somebody's losing a loved one. Home could be broken. And we didn't help out because we added fuel to the fire. So we have to be intentional and ask ourselves, what are we doing on a daily basis that is producing or at least planting the seeds to produce the results that we want to see in our own communities? We're going to hold people in high positions, politicians, and people in office accountable. But what are we doing to keep ourselves accountable to see what we want to see in our own backyard? That's what it all boils down to. And when we actually look at it that way, I think that I myself and everybody else who's watching to say, okay, start thinking about, okay, what am I doing? No, what am I saying? Because I can't. I'm not going to look over in my neighbor's backyard and say, hey, listen, man, you need to cut your weaves. And then my weaves are hanging up, they're like 6 feet tall. I got some issues in my own backyard.
You got to deal with them first.
And and I don't expect them to come over in my own backyard and cut my grass. I expect to take responsibility of that.
Yep.
So I need to take care of what's in my backyard. And in this sense, I'm going to say the backyard is the community. So what am I investing, whether it's a scholarship, words of encouragement, or meeting with the youth, or meeting with adults and educating? What am I doing on my behalf to build what it is that I want to see, versus sitting back, waiting on somebody else to do it, just sitting back wasting time. When we could actually take whatever we do have. I'm not saying you need $1 billion or $1 million, but, we could start something. You got to start somewhere. And then from there, the vision can continue to be enhanced and grow, and then money can start being poured into building what it is that you want to see. But we have to, like I said, we have to start by doing a self-evaluation, looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, what is it that I want to see and what can I do to help produce that, before we even try to hold other people accountable for what we want to see in our own community.
Yep. And I think, man, right now in the black community, like more than ever, man, we need some leaders to actually, step up.
Right.
And we need people to lead, within their own lane. Because right now we have the older generation, people that are involved in the NAACP, like things are changing.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people that are pointing to what could be done, what needs to be done, but no one's willing to step up and do it.
Right.
No one's willing to invest that time to say, okay, what could we do different?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think until we swallow that pill of truth, and we take that drink of truth, man, and realize, okay, there's some truth to what's being said out here, of what we can work on as a people, what we need to work on as a community. I think until we get to that point, change is inevitable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we need to really work on that, and saying, okay, with the deaths in Chicago, with those 6 kids being shot, like, why aren't we going off and making noise about that? You know what I'm saying? And I think some people take it the wrong way, man, because it's not like we're saying the Black Lives Matter movement is not just. We're just saying, why are we only making noise at certain times?
Right, yeah. And we have to start by what's going on in our own communities, in our own inner circles. Like, for example, like I mentioned to you, like my one of my best friends was shot in the head, and by a black man. And I remember dropping everything and going to the hospital to be by his bedside with him and his family. And, a terrible sight, his skull, they had to take his skull out to finish the surgery. And this is somebody who I've been close to like this since kindergarten, since we were pretty much, in diapers, if you ask me. So there was, to me, the movements that make volume or make noise when certain things happen needs to be involved when those things happen in our own communities, because sometimes it can send out the wrong message that our lives matter when a particular person takes it, or when a particular person in a particular position take it. And that sends out the wrong message. And we have to say our lives are valuable at all times. So no matter who takes it, nobody should be taking anybody else's life. That's where we have to start, if you ask me. And so, we have to do an evaluation and say, okay, yes, I'm going to use my voice, but I want to make sure that, when a kid is hit by a stray bullet, that I'm using my voice then just as much as when a police officer kills an unarmed African American. I want to make sure that, that, like I said, when a stray bullet hits my friend, like my friend was hit by a stray bullet, that I'm making noise then as well.
Yeah. Every life should pretty much be equal.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Regardless of the situation, or regardless how the life is taken away, unfortunately, it should all matter. And, to me, it starts with us, those who have that perspective, educating, and then also being vocal and taking the leadership, taking the baton, and, raising up high so that people can see it. There's no need to have a baton and keep it down like this. You have to raise that thing high so people can see it. And, and lead the way, take charge. Even if nobody comes alongside with you, you have to keep going in spite of that, because you have to keep moving forward in what you believe. And there are always going to be people that are going to have differences of opinion and, they're going to think contrary. And, that's everybody has the right to their own opinion. And, we can appreciate that. But that doesn't mean that we can't continue to keep moving in the right direction. And we have to be able to open up our eyes and say, okay, I see what you're saying. You see what I'm saying. But we have to make sure that we are being vocal in our own backyard when situations are happening. And if I have a situation that happens in my house, I have to be vocal about that as a leader and as a man in my house before I even go next door and help them with their situation. If I have something going on, I need to take care of home.
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, so, man, hey, it was a pleasure having you, man.
Absolutely, brother.
We'll continue this conversation. We'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give everybody, man, all your social media links or where they can follow you.
Guys, so make sure right now that you go to my YouTube page, type in Shaquille E. Cook, click subscribe. Go follow my talk show, Keeping It Real with Shaquille, on Facebook. Go and like that page. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Subscribe to the College Football Highlight Podcast. And if you go to my YouTube page, you'll be able to see Keeping It Real with Shaquille talk show and my other show, Dude Loves Food. So, guys, make sure that you support. And also, donate to our scholarship. This year, we're raising $3,000 to give 2 $1,500 scholarships out to students, high school students that are going off to college this fall. So the deadline to apply is August 4th, but we still need your financial support to help send our students off to educate themselves, to become better, and to also invest back into their communities, and we need your support to do that. So you can cash at me at Shaquille Cook, and if you do, regardless of the amount, whether it's $1, $5, $500, you will receive one of these wristbands that says "I am outstanding," to remind you that you invested in something that you're going to receive a lifetime return back on.
It's great news. We're great people, man. I would like to end this by just saying I appreciate you, man, for coming on. And just to all the listeners out there, look, do your part. Me and Shaquille are doing our part, and we're using the platform that we already have.
Right.
So, like he said earlier in a different segment of this interview, use whatever you already have. Like, use whatever your lane is, whatever your platform is. It may not be protesting. It may be speaking. It may be blogging. It may be doing videos. It may be politics. Whatever it is, you can make a difference. And let's start at our own home. Let's start in our own community and hold ourselves accountable before we expect anybody else to do anything. And as I always say, one love, be blessed. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Art of Reinvention podcast talk show. Feel free to share this across all of your social media platforms. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Facebook by searching Teflon John. You can follow us on Instagram by searching I Am Teflon John. And if you would like to support this podcast, you can do so by cash apping $I Am Teflon John. One love. Be blessed.